I'm maximising crafting fun in this video today. Welcome to my crafting channel. I'm Alana from Upcycling NZ. I'll be using 3 canvases today, and one of them's wider on the front and on the sides. The other 2 are narrower and they are more shallow in depth than the other one. I've dried out some tea bags, emptied them out and opened them up, and I'm going to use these around the sides and the edges of my canvases. I'm so excited to finally try these out, and I'm hoping that they're going to give me the vintage look that I'm going for. I'm just sorting these into 3 different tones. I'm also going to keep the little tags that came off the tea bags. I'll be using PVA wood glue for this project. You can use normal PVA glue or Mod Podge. And I'm watering it down by about 25%. I'll use a chippy brush for this and make sure I've mixed that glue and water up well. So I'll apply some glue to the sides and to the corner top. I'm being very careful when I apply my first tea bag that it covers the sides very well and overlaps the corner. Then I'll apply extra glue at the end and fold those sides down. The tea bags just curve beautifully around the canvas. You might be thinking I drink an awful lot of tea, but I actually don't. These are tea bags from our work recycling tea bag bin. And when I'm not reusing them for my projects, they get put into our community garden and dug into the soil. And all the lovely people I work with drink a huge variety of different teas, so I'm able to get lots of different shades of colour from that. I'm on to the next canvas now. A lot of these tea bags still have tea remnants attached to them, so I'm making sure I'm gluing the tea side down so that I can actually trap those in the tea bags, and it adds to the beautiful effect that you get. I did notice that the tea bags without the tags didn't go down as easily, so I won't be saving those anymore, but I absolutely love using these tea bags. Now that I have the 3 surrounds completed, I'm going to take all of my scrap paper, and I've selected a whole lot of tones that I like together. I've got printed papers, I've got shiny paper, I've got tissue paper. I think that the more texture and the more variety you can get in there, the better. And with absolutely no rhyme or reason, I'm just going to apply those to the canvas and create my background. I'm covering all of my white canvas, and I'm trying not to put the same paper side by side. I tend to keep all of my offcuts, if they're not too small, from other projects, and I had quite a significant amount of them in my stash. I'm using green tones for my next canvas, and I've got shiny papers again, I've got some tissue paper again, some thicker paper, some thinner paper, and I think they all complement each other. You'll notice in each of these canvases I'm also drawing from the colour of the tea bags and ensuring there's some of that shade in the canvas itself. This is so that all 3 of my pieces will tie in together at the end. I am having so much fun doing this. It's honestly very relaxing and enjoyable. I'm using red and pink tones for the last canvas, and I've got a variety of tissue paper. If you don't have tissue paper, try using serviettes. So I've got some of those in here as well. If you are using serviettes though, you do have to remove the backing because they are usually 2 or 3 ply. You just want the top ply. If you're new to my channel, thanks so much for joining me today. And if you're a regular subscriber, hey, really appreciate you guys and always appreciate your support. Alright, that's my backgrounds finished, and this is what they look like once they're dry. Next, I'm just throwing a whole lot of similar toned bits and pieces from my stash, much like what you'd use for scrapbooking. I'll explain more about the things that I'm using further on in the video. But if you know me, you know I love the vintage look, so they've all got a bit of a vintage theme running through them. Some elements tend to fade into the background, so I'll use some antique wax on a sponge, and I'm just going to age the edges, which will give those elements some contrast against the background. I used alphabet stamps to create some wording. This is a paper doily. I'm using a white one, and I've painted one black with a bit of gold. I didn't do all of those things for this project specifically, but I had them in my stash. There's a piece from a colouring book, and I made a little paper doily by folding a piece of paper into quarters and doing cutouts, then staining it with tea. Now for the fun bit of applying all of these to the surface of my canvases. I'm tending to use the large pieces first so that I can work around them, and I'm just adding things where I think they look good. You can overlap your elements, you can have them running vertical or horizontal or diagonal if you want. Whatever you do, your piece is going to reflect your artistic mind. This canvas really is probably a good representation of my artistic mind. It's kind of what's going on in my head a lot of the time. I've used a bit of music paper and a bit of book text in this collage. I collect them from recycle centres and thrift stores, just old books. I even found an old stamp collecting book that had some great stamps I could cut out and use for this. I've also used some vintage stickers that I got from the Temu website. I'll add a little bit of lace to this. I'll tie it in a bow and hot glue it to the top of a couple of feathers that I've put down there. And I've got a few little brass buttons which I've put on a ribbon, and I'll hot glue that to the side there. And as a bit of a nod to the tea bags, I've added the tag and I'm gluing down the strings in nice swirly patterns. Moving on to the green canvas, I've cut out a vintage picture from a magazine. I picked up a packet of lacy border embellishments from an op shop or thrift store for $1, and I'm just applying the green one to the side. It's always a great idea to add an inspirational quote to your collage as well. I've added a button, a ribbon and a bow, and I'll attach this little leafy twine offcut. I'll twist this around the other embellishments a bit to create some interest, and I've used hot glue or PVA glue or a combination of both to stick these down. Finally, last but not least, I'm on to the red one. This was probably the most exciting one to make, and I'm using a combination of all of the embellishments that I've talked about earlier. So I think I'll just let you watch this one come together. For the hanging system on the back, I'm using these eyelets and some floral wire. I'm measuring 10 centimetres on the top of each of the canvases so that they hang evenly if you were to hang them together. I'm taking a small nail and I'm going to just punch a hole about the size of the little eyelet and remove the nail. It just helps you to screw the eyelet in. If the eyelet gets hard to screw in, just use the pliers to finish it off. I'm going to use a double length of wire, so thread it through one end, through the other, and trim it off, leaving a little bit of excess. I'll pull the wires tight and I'm making sure that the ends, one goes over the eyelet and one goes under. Fold it back on itself and tighten it again, and then I'm just going to twist those wires a couple of times and then thread them under and over a couple of times behind the wires. Then just trim off the wires as close to the centre wire as you can get and twist the ends so that there's no pointy bits. Ready to hang. Well, that's it for me this week. Thanks so much for watching. Loved having you here with me. Let me know what you think and if you had any favourites. And I have big news. I reached 1,000 subscribers today. Thank you so much. I love you guys. I'll leave you some footage of this beautiful old Navy boat. My pop is currently on it and he's reliving his Navy days.